Welcome to the Stop Down Photography Podcast, episode 53. I'm Scott Davenport. Today's topic is failure. If you're not failing, you're not growing. Hi, welcome. Thanks for joining me today. I'm glad to be back with you for another chat about photography, this shared passion of ours. And in today's episode, let's take one more step on our never-ending journey of photography. Today, I want to talk about failure, and that sounds cheery, right? So why failure, Scott? Well, failure is fresh on my mind because I failed to get out with my camera yesterday. I'm recording this on a Monday. I had planned to go make photographs yesterday on Sunday, and as they say in the military, I was OBE, overcome by events. It just didn't happen. And while this particular failure was not a direct personal failure, it got me thinking about failure and photography and how failure is a natural part of our photography. And in fact, it's necessary to advance as a photographer. If you enjoy today's podcast, please share it with a friend, share it with your camera club. If you can, please leave a rating on Apple Podcasts. Fresh, current ratings is how other photographers find out about the show, and that's what we want, more photographers improving their craft. All right, so if you've ever felt discouraged or dejected after a shoot, you are not alone. So nod your head if this sounds familiar. You're gearing up for a shoot, you're excited. Of course you're excited. You're getting out with your camera, you're out of the location, and boom, creative wall. You can't find the compositions. You're fumbling with the camera settings or filters. Creativity just evaporates. It happens. There's actually a more insidious variant of this, the outing where you feel like it went great. Things felt like they're clicking. You're excited about the captures. You're feeling like you're in the zone, in the flow. You might even be looking at the back of the LCD and go, wow, these are looking really good. And then later, back at your computer where you can see the photos large, and they're just not as good as you thought they were. They just missed the mark somehow. And those killer captures you thought you'd banked, they just kind of disappeared. And these kinds of failures happen. And yes, it's discouraging. It can make you want to give up, pack up the gear, sell it off, take up another passion. But while it's discouraging, it's also normal. The trick is to work past the discouragement and assess what went wrong. That's a conscious choice, by the way. You can choose to embrace the failure, own it, and learn from it. Because failure is a great teacher. Making mistakes is how we improve. A failure can be a reason to dive deeper, to understand what went wrong, why didn't the image captivate you, then make a change and try again. If you're not failing with your photography, you're not growing. Since failure's been on my mind the last 24 hours or so, I was looking through some older photos in my catalog and looking at ones where it reminded me of, I thought this was going to be good, and it turned out that it wasn't. And there were kind of like two big buckets of failure. Buckets of failure. That's like the name of my new band. There are two buckets of failure, and I think this is true for most photographers, if not all of us. The first are the technical failures. We miss focus, or there's camera shake. Maybe we didn't choose the right aperture and there's insufficient depth of field. The highlights are blown. These types of things. And these are the ones that are easier to fix, I think. The feedback loop is shorter. We can get better at our exposure triangle. We can leverage the blinkies and the zebra stripes. We see the problem. We improve our technique. Like if it's a missed focus or there's a camera jitter, we tuck our elbows in and hold our breath when we press the shutter, or we use a tripod, or maybe we do upgrade our gear to get in-body stabilization or vibration reduction in the lenses, whatever it might be, to help with overcoming any jitter. I had one of these types of failures quite recently. I was photographing some bigger surf in San Diego. I was hand-holding with my long lens, my 70 to 200. Now, I had image stabilization turned on, but I really didn't adjust my settings well enough. As I was following the wave, either I didn't stop panning quickly enough, or my ISO was a little too low, or my shutter speed was a little too high, something where the photos came out and they're just slightly soft. And the thing about that, as I thought through that failure, I know where the wave is going to be, and I could compose for what I wanted to capture and be ready, or I could consciously, once I knew I'm about to press the shutter, stop my panning, maybe even put the rig on a tripod if I needed to do that. These are the things that we can go through and think through these technical failures, identify what went wrong, learn from it, do better the next time. The second bucket of failures are vision failures. This I have to admit, there were quite a number of photos that I would call failures that were just totally on me. Lousy composition, the inability to find an intriguing subject. It's just sheer garbage in the frame sometimes. The fair amount of the what was I thinking type of photos. Another thing I noticed was taking too many photos of the same scene. Now, I was trying to force something that wasn't there and not knowing when to move on. Just abandon that composition or abandon that subject, move on to something else. That could actually equally apply when you do bank a good shot. You've got it, and it's really, really good. Well, you've got that one. Move on to something else. But there was another portion of this category where the photos were technically adept. The focus was good. Depth of field was good. But the emotion was missing. There was just a lack of intrigue, nothing to captivate me or my viewer. And these are the longer term things, and these take time to fix. Sometimes years, I'll argue a lifetime. That's why photography is also one of the reasons I love photography. We can always learn, we're always growing. Because working on these types of failures, these vision failures, that's really working on ourselves, sculpting the artist within us. And that's a tricky proposition, honestly, because we're not static. Our tastes change, our styles change, and maybe that is the yin-yang of it all. As part of our quest to improve, we venture into new territory, and then we find a new set of failures and new opportunities for growth. So if you are feeling discouraged with your photography, or the next time that it happens, because there will be a next time, it will happen for all of us, think about failure as an opportunity to grow. Embrace it, own it, know that you're not alone. Stand back up, dust yourself off, grab that camera, and go make the next photo. A quick bit of studio news this week. On1 Photo Raw Essentials. This is an ebook I published in December that covers all of On1 Photo Raw 2021. Well, there is now a print edition of that available on Amazon. Link is in the show notes. So if you are a want to hold a book in my hand kind of person, you've been waiting for a print edition of the 2021 Photo Raw Essentials book, it's available now and you can pick it up. I'll keep this week's podcast short because I don't want to dwell on failure. Just know that failures happen and use them as fuel for your growth. Before I sign off, I do want to thank the members of the Patreon community. It is your support that makes this podcast possible, and you're helping thousands of other photographers supporting my work through this podcast, through free tutorials on YouTube, all sorts of stuff. If you're interested in learning more, check the show notes. There's a support the show button on all pages as well, where you can learn more. And there's also ways that you can support the podcast that don't involve Patreon or a monthly pledge. So check those notes out. If you want to just give a one-time donation, you can do that. And there are some other ways that cost you nothing to support the show. So please check it out. And that will do it for this week. If you have questions, use the contact form on stopdownpodcast.com. Reach out. Love to hear from you. And until next time, my name is Scott Davenport. Have fun.